Hi Stampers, it's Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I go live every Monday and Thursday right here on YouTube and Facebook, usually showing you some sort of a fun fold card. And today we are doing the double decker card. I don't know if you've seen this one before, but it has this little floating panel in the middle, giving it a little bit of extra interest. And I'm excited to show you how it's done. We pull you down onto my desk. And here are two examples of this card. There's this one, and then there's this one. Both of them are using the same mega suite. And a mega suite is something out of the catalog. Stampin' Up! Will group things together as what they call a bundle, which is a stamp set and punch or stamp set and dies that work together. And then they consider it a suite when they add in designer series paper, some embellishments, some ribbon. And then they give you one item number where you can order the entire thing with just the one item number. A mega suite means there are two bundles involved in that. So this one uses the Flowers of Beauty, which has this stamp set, and then these dies that go with it. And then there is the Unbounded Love, which is a set of sentiments that goes with it, and then some labels that go with it. So everything works together in coordination, making it really super easy to create things that match. And that's one of my favorite things about Stampin' Up! Is that they love to put things together that match. So that kind of takes the mystery out of putting things together. So here is our suite collection. And you'll notice how it uses the same kind of grouping of colors, the same style. It's got some glimmer paper that goes with it, some embellishments, and then the entire thing can be ordered using the one item number. But we're using that today to create this card. So I have everything here already pre-cut out and die cut in my little packet. When you place an order with me, one of the cards during the month, you will receive a little packet like this. You get all the little pieces of one of the cards I make the following month. And so you get to craft along with me and make something fun. If I can move this up into the frame without losing my light over there. But I'm setting this in the corner of my grid paper. I love Stampin' Up's grid paper. And one of the things I use it for is to show you guys the measurements. And so this card starts out with 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 2 1/8, and then 4 1/4. So it's basically a standard card base, cut in half, folded in half. But then we took the front of the card and we cut this in half once again. And then I'm going to fold this backwards. So we're making a mountain fold out of it, which folds it back to the front. And when we do our scoring, when you score into cardstock, if you're scoring down into it, it makes kind of a valley with the little ball of the scoring tool. And then you're going to make that valley into a mountain. And so that's the best way to get a good score out of it and not rip the paper. Now, it doesn't happen very often with cardstock. The cardstock is an 80-pound cardstock, so it's fairly thick and we don't have that problem. But if you ever need to score your designer series paper, then you need to be a little more careful with it and turn that valley into a mountain. The next piece I have is this piece that's going to go in the middle. This is our center lift panel. And so this is 4 inches by 3 3/4, scored at 3/4. And so afterwards, it's going to be a 3 by 4. Once we get this little piece out of the way, because this is what we're going to use to attach it to the base. And so because that's 3 by 4, on top of it, we're going to have 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 in a basic white. Then to go over the front of it, I'm using just a little bit larger because I want the outside panel to cover up the inside panel and not have it show. But when I used the same side, it shifted it a little too much this way for my liking. I wanted it more centered, so I just made it a little bit larger. So my panel on the outside is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, making that inside 3 by 4. Okay, so that's the base of our cards. We're going to decorate that using the Designer Series paper, Unbounded Beauty. And so I'm just using the back side of it. And this particular one is pretty muted on both sides, kind of a subtle pattern, kind of just a background. Some of them have a very flowery front and then a subtle background. So you can use it as your focal point or something more muted. You have your choice. That's another thing I love about our Designer Series papers is even when something is kind of a very bold pattern or very tied to a holiday, you know, say there's Christmas Designer Series paper, it will be very, very Christmassy on one side and then a little more subtle on the back, maybe using Christmas colors, but more of a basic stripe or a background, allowing you to use that paper long after the holiday is over, which can be very helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the comments. I try to look back occasionally and make sure I don't miss anything. If I do miss it, please go ahead and ask your question again, because it's never my intention to miss anybody's questions. That's what I'm here for, and that's why you show up live, right? The other reason you show up live is that you want to enter hashtag Prize Patrol. And by doing that, you get entered into the drawing to win today's card. And so you would just type it just like it says right there in the banner at the bottom with the kind of pound sign, which is called a hashtag, and then Prize Patrol, all run together as one word, no spaces. And then I have a computer in the background collecting everybody's name, and then we're going to do a drawing and somebody's going to win today's card. Okay, then I went ahead and I die cut using the dies that went with the Flowers of Beauty. And Stampin' Up! Has gotten smart now, and they started labeling their dies and their stamp set the same thing. So this is the Unbounded Love dies that go with the Unbounded Love stamp set. So the Flowers of Beauty stamp set goes with the Flowers of Beauty dies. Isn't that smart? They finally got on board. And the dies will cut out images that are stamped. So this round one here was what I used to cut out this one. And this was done with two-step stamping, and that I used the Pretty in Pink ink, and I stamped full strength using the outline. And then I inked up the center of it, and I inked it up with the Pretty in Pink, but then I stamped off lightly on paper and then back onto my project. So it gave it a lighter tone to it, and it just gives you a way to use one color but get two different shades out of it. So it looks like I used two different colors, but I didn't. I just used the one. And after I had it stamped, I used that die to die cut it out. Then for the leaves, I used this die here. So that's this one. So these dies die cut out by themselves individually, or they will die cut out some of the two-step stamping that's included in this set. Okay, so let's get some of these pieces out of the way. So I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal. That is my adhesive of choice. You don't need very much of it. I only put maybe an inch, inch and a quarter in each corner because it is a very strong adhesive and it will stick and it's not going to come off after a while. I know some of the big box stores have some adhesives that after they've sat in some heat for a while, they kind of don't stick anymore and the layers will have a tendency to fall off. So you have to either use a whole lot more of it or be willing to let your card fall apart. So people will say that the Stampin' Up! Seal is expensive, but considering you don't need to use as much of it, I don't really think it is. You just don't want to be wasteful with it. And it's not going to let your card fall apart. Also, it needs to have a little bit of a trick to using it. You want the seal to snap off at the top of our little wheel here. so that when you go to roll again, it will be sticky at the tip, which is where it first touches the paper. And to do that, you want to roll and you kind of tilt it up a little bit and flick, and it makes it snap off up there. So there's just a little bit of a learning curve to it, but once I got the learning curve down, I'm in love with it because it's so fast and easy and it dries quickly, which I really like. Helene says she likes using the two-step stamps. I do too. I like the fact that they can be used two-step, which is where you stamp and then you stamp again to color it in, or you can just stamp the outline and then you can use your choice of medium and coloring them, and that you could color them with the watercolor pencils or Stampin' blends, or any number of ways that we can color. Okay, I'm going to take this inside panel with this little 3/4 inch strip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to butt this into the middle. I'm going to kind of center it and then close my card. And what that's going to do is make it stick up here, but it's not interfering with the score line. I don't want it into the score line because I don't want it to interfere with the fact that I want it to close. And then this piece, as I said, I want this to go over the top and kind of cover that up, but I want it more centered in there. So the most centered I can get it is to line it up with the edge of this one, because that's going to make sure it's covered up. Because if I just went and tried to center it, it's going to have that stick out, and I don't want it doing that. And I also want to make sure that I'm only putting adhesive on this side, which is where it's going to be touching this outside panel. I don't want any adhesive back here because I don't want it to glue to this panel. I want it to be free floating. So we're going to be careful about adding some adhesive just to this side. Then I'm going to line it up with the edge of that and then kind of center it. As you can see, there's a little bit of an overhang because I've got that 1/4 inch extra. But I'm putting it flush with that edge, and then I'm pushing down on this side. So that's going to give us our double decker. That's the name of this fold. It's a double decker card. On the inside, I decided to stamp Happy Birthday, and that's out of that Unbounded Love stamp set. Oops. I have a bunch of excess pieces here in a clear envelope. And then this is a mask. This is just a piece of Post-it note, and then I stamped a flower on it. And then I fussy cut it out. And now when I stamp a flower, I can set this on top of it and then stamp my leaves, and they will appear to be coming out from behind the flower. That's what this is here. So the other half of these leaves, when they stamped onto the Post-it note rather than onto my flower. So they appear to be coming from behind. Okay, I'm using my grid paper as a line to figure out how to get my sentiments straight. And then I'm using the side line over here to keep my block straight. And so that's going to give me my best chance at getting that stamp straight on my layer. So this is going to be the smaller piece. I want to make sure I'm using the right one. And I'm going to ink this up in Pretty in Pink because that is the color cardstock we're using. And if you use Pretty in Pink cardstock and ink and blends and everything else, it's all going to match exactly, which is fabulous. And they've also used Pretty in Pink in the Designer Series paper. That's actually how I decided to use this color, is I went into the Designer Series paper and picked out. This is Summer Splash. right in here. So that's why this is a Summer Splash base. It's a little bit deeper and darker than a Coastal Cabana, and it's one of our in colors, as is the Pretty in Pink. So I'm going to center this in this layer. And I can center the white on the front. And then here I have those die cut leaves, and these are actually out of Pool Party because it was just a little bit lighter. I felt that the Summer Splash was a little too blue for the leaves. I wanted them a little softer and more subtle. So I used Pool Party. And then it's a very detailed design. So what I really should have done is I should have used adhesive sheets. If I had put adhesive sheet onto the cardstock before die cutting, it would have given me an area I could just pull off the backing and it would make it a sticker, which would be really easy to apply. Now, obviously the glue or the seal not going to work great. You could probably put this down onto your silicone mat and then run this over, and theoretically it's just going to stick to the cardstock. Still, it gives a little bit of goobers. You could use the Tombow glue, but I think that the tip of this, you have to be very, very careful not to get too much. So what I'm going to actually use is my Sweet Petunia glue press. And what this is a very fine tip glue pen that is great for people with arthritis, because what you do is you squeeze the trigger and it's going to make it come out the end in these teeny little dots. And based on how much pressure you give it is how small these dots are going to be. So you can make really small little delicate dots, which will make it easier to put lots of adhesive on this all over without making it ooze out from behind. And this is, like I said, from my Sweet Petunia, and there is a link on my blog. If you went to queenbeecreations.net, right there on the home page is a link to other products I recommend, and this is going to be one of them. After you're done using it, you would set it into the base, and there's this little rubberized thing at the bottom. It's kind of a dome, and when this goes down into it, it pushes pressure against the hole in the glue press, and it keeps it from drying out. And it definitely works, because more than once I have forgotten and left it sitting out overnight just in the stand like that, and it has not dried out or clogged up the gun. Then when you're done, there's this little pin in there, like our fine tip glue pen does, that goes into the hole of the nozzle and then screws on. It comes with a spare bottle with a little bit larger tip, and I actually filled this one with Tombow adhesive. So just an idea, if you have a need for a really fine tip glue, or you have arthritis in your hands, I highly recommend this little gun. To put the flowers on, I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals, and those are little foam circles, or these are what, hexagons, octagons, one of those. But they're just going to go onto the back. They are double-sided, but they are a foam, so they're a little bit thicker, and it's going to raise it up, giving the front of my card a little more depth and dimension. You want to be careful when you're using foam adhesives. They are fabulous, but you don't want to get carried away and do too many layers. I very, very rarely will do more than one layer of dimensionals because it makes the card thicker, and then when you send it through the postal service, it has a tendency to sometimes go too thick if there is more than one layer, meaning you would have to pay extra postage. So just something to keep in mind. I'm sorry to hear about the screen freezing. That's not something on my end because it looks like other people are not having that problem. Okay, so that's it. There is our card. So my finishing touch is just going to be adding some embellishments. And there are several different options that you can choose from. Of course, we're using the new in colors, and so an obvious choice would be the in color dots. We have these little ones here, and they are in the new in colors. So there's Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Shy Shamrock, Petunia Pop, and then Summer Splash. And our in colors are something that stick around for 2 years. And so since these came out in May, they will stay around until 2026. So those could obviously be used on there. But what I chose to use was the brass butterflies. I like these because they are nice and flat. So there are the butterflies, but you also have, there's some birds and little dragonflies. They're in the same idea of these flat brass embellishments. And the benefit of them being nice and flat like that is that they're not going to, I don't want to say rip, but yeah, poke a hole in your envelope as it travels through the mail, because the postal service is not what one would call gentle with our projects as they go through. So because they're nice and flat, I don't run into the problem of them poking any holes in my envelopes as they go through the mail. So that is today's card. As I said, I did this happy birthday one using Pretty in Pink. And then my other example here uses Summer Splash. And then it has a die cut up here. And what happened was I stamped on there and didn't like the way it came out. And so my fix was to stamp onto a label and put the label over the top. And nobody's going to know that I made a goof and needed to cover it up. So don't throw away those cards that you make boo-boos on. There's always a way to fix them, almost always. So thank you to everyone who joined me. I hope you loved today's card. This was a very feminine card. And then Monday, we're doing more of a masculine card. And that we're doing this little box toolbox. And I've done the card in a box quite a few times. And I've done the smaller one and I've done the larger one. This is a little bit different in that even though it's kind of the larger card in a box, you know, opening sort of, it's going to fit into the 5.5 by 4.25 A2 envelope. So I really am excited about this fold. Somebody else had done this fold using, I think, flowers that popped out of it or something. But the minute I saw the shape, I thought, oh my gosh, it's a toolbox. So that's what we're doing on Monday. Has everybody put in hashtag prize patrol? Because again, that's how you get entered into the drawing to win today's card. You can let me know if you want the sympathy or the happy birthday card. I'm willing to send you either one. And then I'm going to remove my desk and then add in our prize patrol wheel and give that a spin. Come on. Guess it doesn't want to get bigger for me. Hopefully it's big enough that you can see. Kimberly slipped in just under the wire. So let's give this a draw and see who today's winner is. Yes, thank you, Wendy. I'm excited about book 2 myself. It's been selling really well, and my reviews on both Fun Fold books have been great. Congratulations to Becky. You are today's winner. In order to claim your prize, what you want to do is go to my website, queenbeecreations.net. And then up there in the address bar where you typed that in, you want to add /prize patrol to the end of it. And that's going to bump you over to a Google form where you will claim your prize. You will let me know that you won and where you would like it mailed to. You will give me your address so I know where to send it. So congratulations, Becky. That looks like a new name to me. So that's kind of exciting. Thank you to everyone who joined. I appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to see you again on Monday for another Fun Fold card. Thanks a lot. Bye.